Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everyone. Today I want to talk about something we all deal with at some point. Difficult people. That could mean a rude coworker, a passive-aggressive friend, a boss who never listens, or someone who always seems to create drama wherever they go. And the truth is, no matter how smart, patient, or experienced we are, difficult people can drain our energy, test our emotions, and make even simple situations feel exhausting. But here is the key idea I want to share today. Difficult people are not always difficult because they are bad people. Often, they are stuck in patterns of behavior. And if we can learn to recognize those patterns, we can respond more effectively instead of reacting emotionally. So in this talk, I want to go through some of the most common difficult types of people, explain what makes them hard to deal with, and share practical ways to handle them. Let's start with one of the most obvious types, the bulldozer. The bulldozer is the person who dominates conversations, interrupts constantly, pushes their ideas aggressively, and acts as if their priorities matter more than everyone else's. You usually feel talked over, rushed, or pressured around this kind of person. The mistake many people make with a bulldozer is either fighting back with the same energy or becoming too passive. Neither works very well. If you fight harder, the situation often becomes a power struggle. If you go quiet, the bulldozer simply takes more space. A better response is calm firmness. You do not need to match their aggression, but you do need to be clear. For example, you can say, "Let me finish this point, and then I'll listen to yours," or "I understand you want this done quickly, but here are the two realistic options." The goal is to stay steady, specific, and confident. Bulldozers often respect clarity more than emotion. The second type is the passive-aggressive person. This is someone who avoids direct conflict but expresses negativity through sarcasm, backhanded comments, silence, procrastination, or subtle resistance. Instead of saying what they really think, they make little digs or quietly fail to cooperate. These people can be especially frustrating because the problem is never fully out in the open. If you confront them too aggressively, they may deny everything. If you ignore the behavior, it usually continues. The most effective approach is to bring the issue into the open without attacking the person. Focus on the behavior, not their personality. For example, you might say, "When you made that comment, it sounded like you were upset about the plan. If there's a concern, let's talk about it directly." This kind of response invites honesty, while making it harder for the passive-aggressive pattern to hide. The third type is the victim or martyr. This person often feels like life is always unfair to them. They may constantly talk about how much they suffer, how no one helps them, or how nothing ever works out. Sometimes they want sympathy, sometimes rescue, and sometimes both. Now, empathy matters. People do go through real struggles. But the problem comes when someone gets stuck in a pattern where they give away all their power and expect others to carry their problems for them. The biggest mistake here is doing too much for them. The more you solve everything, the more helpless they may become. Instead, try to redirect them toward responsibility. Ask questions like, "What are your options?" or "What is one thing you can do next?" This shifts the conversation from helplessness to action. You can be supportive without becoming responsible for someone else's life. The fourth type is the perfectionist nitpicker. This is the person who spots every flaw, worries about every detail, and often slows everything down because nothing ever feels good enough. They may have high standards, which can be valuable, but taken too far, perfectionism creates stress, delay, and frustration for everyone around them. The challenge with perfectionists is that they often confuse excellence with impossibility. They want certainty, zero errors, and total control. When dealing with this type, it helps to define what good enough actually means. Instead of debating every tiny issue, focus on the most important priorities. You can say, "What are the top 3 things that must be right?" Or "This version is good enough for now, and we can improve it later." That helps move the conversation from endless criticism to practical progress. The fifth type is the chronic complainer. We all know someone like this. No matter what happens, they find the negative side. If something goes right, they focus on what could still go wrong. If a solution is offered, they explain why it will not work. Over time, This mindset can become emotionally exhausting for everyone around them. The mistake people often make is trying to out-argue the complainer or force positivity on them. That rarely helps. A better method is to acknowledge the frustration briefly and then redirect toward action. For example, you can say, "Yes, that sounds frustrating. So, what do you think would improve the situation?" Or, "What is one practical step we can take?" This keeps the conversation from becoming an endless loop of negativity. The sixth type is the avoider or ghoster. This is the person who disappears when decisions need to be made, avoids uncomfortable conversations, delays responses, and often leaves other people hanging. They may not be openly difficult, but their lack of communication creates confusion, stress, and wasted time. The key with avoiders is not to depend on vague communication. Open-ended requests like, "Let me know what you think," may go nowhere. Instead, be specific and create clear choices. For example, "Can you confirm option A or option B by 3 p.m.? Or, "If I don't hear from you by tomorrow, I'll move forward with option A." This creates structure and reduces uncertainty. People who avoid discomfort often respond better when expectations are simple and concrete. The seventh type is the blame shifter or credit taker. This person wants recognition when things go well, but when things go badly, suddenly it is someone else's fault. They may rewrite events, avoid accountability, or position themselves politically to look better than they really are. These people can be especially difficult because they create distrust. Others start feeling unsafe, unsupported, or unfairly exposed. The best defense is clarity and documentation. Keep track of responsibilities, decisions, and contributions. In group settings, speak clearly about who is doing what. You do not need to be dramatic about it. Just be accurate and consistent. When accountability is visible, it becomes much harder for blame-shifting behavior to thrive. Now, after hearing all of these types, it is important to remember something. The real goal is not to change difficult people. In most cases, you cannot control their personality, their habits, or their emotional maturity. What you can control is how you respond. That means learning how to stay calm under pressure. It means setting boundaries without guilt. It means recognizing when someone is pulling you into an unhealthy dynamic and choosing not to play your usual role in it. One of the most powerful tools in dealing with difficult people is emotional regulation. If someone is angry, sarcastic, controlling, or manipulative, your first instinct may be to react immediately. But reacting is not the same as responding. A short pause can change everything. Taking a breath, lowering your tone, and choosing your words carefully can stop a situation from escalating. Difficult people often expect emotional reactions. When you stay grounded, you shift the entire interaction. Another important tool is clear communication. Many difficult interactions get worse because expectations are vague. The more specific you are, the better. Be clear about deadlines, responsibilities, boundaries, and consequences. Clear communication reduces confusion, and it also reduces opportunities for manipulation. Boundaries are also essential. Sometimes the healthiest way to deal with a difficult person is not to win them over, but to limit their impact on your life. That might mean shortening conversations, saying no more often, refusing to engage in drama, or creating more distance where possible. And this is important. Setting boundaries is not rude. It is responsible. You can be kind and still be firm. You can be respectful and still protect your peace. It is also worth knowing when to stop trying. If someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, twists your words, drains your energy, or creates constant harm, the answer may not be better communication. The answer may be more distance. Not every relationship can be fixed. Not every conflict can be resolved perfectly. Sometimes success simply means staying calm, protecting your well-being, and refusing to be pulled into chaos. So, to close, difficult people come in many forms. The bulldozer, the passive-aggressive person, the victim, the perfectionist, the chronic complainer, the avoider, and the blame shifter. Each one creates stress in a different way, but the principle for handling them is the same. Stay calm, stay clear, and stay in control of your own response. Because in the end, strength is not about controlling difficult people. Strength is about not letting difficult people control you. Thank you. I'm disappointed. I'm scared. But I'm going to keep moving forward. Notice the difference. Healthy optimism doesn't deny reality. It works with reality. Imagine climbing a mountain. If someone tells you there are no rocks, no cliffs, and no difficult paths ahead, they're not encouraging you. They're misleading you. A better guide would say, "This climb will be difficult. You'll get tired. You might even want to quit. But step by step, you can reach the top." That's real optimism. It acknowledges hardship while maintaining hope. Perhaps one of the greatest misconceptions about emotions is the belief that happiness should be our permanent destination. What if happiness isn't meant to be permanent? Think about music. Would your favorite song sound beautiful if it contained only one note? Probably not. Its beauty comes from variation. High notes, low notes, fast moments, slow moments, silence. Our emotional lives are much the same. Joy feels meaningful because sadness exists. Relief feels powerful because stress existed first. Courage only matters because fear exists. Without emotional contrast, many positive experiences would lose their meaning. This doesn't mean we should seek suffering. It simply means suffering is part of being human. The goal isn't to eliminate every uncomfortable feeling. The goal is to build the resilience to experience those feelings without letting them define us. In recent years, psychologists have increasingly emphasized something called emotional acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean liking painful emotions. It means recognizing them without immediately trying to escape them. Imagine sitting beside a river. Each emotion is like a leaf floating by. Some leaves represent joy. Others represent anger. Others represent sadness. You don't need to chase every leaf. You don't need to throw stones at them. You simply watch them come and go. Eventually, they drift downstream. Our thoughts and emotions often behave the same way. When we stop fighting them, they frequently lose much of their power. This doesn't mean ignoring serious mental health conditions. Depression, anxiety disorders, trauma, and other challenges deserve professional support. Seeking therapy isn't weakness. Talking to someone isn't failure. In fact, asking for help may be one of the strongest decisions a person can make. Because healing rarely happens through pretending. Healing begins with honesty. So, where does that leave us? Should we stop being positive? Of course not. Hope is essential. Optimism helps people overcome extraordinary challenges. Positive thinking can improve resilience, motivation, and overall well-being. But positivity should never replace emotional honesty. The healthiest mindset isn't, "I must always be happy." It's whatever I feel, I can handle. That single shift changes everything. Instead of fearing sadness, we learn from it. Instead of hiding anxiety, we understand it. Instead of denying grief, we allow ourselves to heal. In the end, perhaps the goal isn't to become the happiest person in the room. Perhaps the goal is to become the most authentic. Someone who can laugh wholeheartedly, cry without shame, celebrate success, accept failure, and experience the full range of what it means to be human. Because emotions were never meant to be enemies. They're guides, teachers, signals. Each one carries a message. When we stop silencing those messages and begin listening to them, we don't become weaker. We become wiser. The next time someone tells you to just stay positive, remember this. You don't heal by pretending pain doesn't exist. You heal by acknowledging it, understanding it, and allowing yourself to move through it. Real happiness isn't the absence of sadness. Real happiness comes from knowing that no matter what emotion arrives, you have the strength to face it. And maybe that's the most positive message of all. She didn't know. She had absolutely no idea that the one thing she'd forgotten to do before handing me her laptop was log out of iMessage. I wasn't snooping. At least, not at first. I just needed to send myself a document because my own computer had died the night before. If I'd waited another 5 seconds, if I'd closed the Messages app without looking, my life would probably be completely different today. At that point, we'd been together for almost 4 years. We met in college. She was funny, smart, and the kind of person who could walk into any room and instantly become everyone's favorite. I honestly thought I was going to marry her.